Finally, we got MrBlack, a coffee liqueur that tastes like real coffee. I say finally because this episode has been in the making for over 1 year, and now it's here. I'll tell you more about this delicious coffee liqueur from Australia later. Now let's talk about what we'll make with it. We'll start with a simple rum version of the classic espresso martini we all know and love, and follow that with a pre-batched nitro version of this coffee cocktail using rum, cold brew coffee, MrBlack coffee liqueur, and sweet vermouth. You can of course swap the main spirit to make the classic, Jalisco, or Kentucky version of these drinks. But today, this is the star, and MrBlack Spirits even set up a competition for you guys, where you can win the ultimate coffee cocktail kit. More on that after the cocktails. Thank you to MrBlack for sponsoring this episode. Let's start, it's cocktail time. Hi friends of cocktails! If you followed the cocktail world in the last couple of years, you've probably seen this bottle around. But what makes this cold brew coffee liqueur so special that they call it the world's best coffee liqueur? MrBlack Spirits are actually coffee roasters and distillers, and the amazing flavor comes from the coffee they use. Specialty grade 100% Arabica coffee beans, no artificial ingredients or flavors, and you'll see that by the sediments of the coffee. It's vodka based, allowing the coffee to shine, and most importantly, it's not overly sweet, allowing you to balance the cocktail the way you like it. And that's what we'll do today, starting with an Espresso Rumtini. Alongside MrBlack, you'll also need a lightly aged rum. I'm using Havana 3 years, a freshly brewed shot of espresso, some rich demerara syrup, and a saline solution, and of course, plenty of ice. Let's start by chilling the shaker. The classic Espresso Martini was created in London in the 80s by Dick Bradsell as the vodka espresso, with the popular story claiming a high-end model wanted something to wake her up and fuck her up at the same time. With rum being everyone's favorite summer spirit, I think it's an appropriate substitute. But with an ounce of MrBlack and a shot of espresso, we will bring exactly what we want to the front: coffee. Dick added sweetener as well, and a bar spoon of rich demerara syrup will give this just enough sweetness, with 2 drops of saline solution highlighting the espresso flavors even further. Add the ice and shake as hard as you can to froth up the espresso crema. This will give your cocktail a nice foamy head. A fresh espresso, a hard shake, and a double strain should always be enough for the perfect look of the espresso martini. Of course, not without the classic garnish, 3 beans of coffee, representing health, wealth, and happiness. Before I show you how to make the pre-batched nitro version, I'll give this a quick sip. Cheers! As good as espresso martini is, adding a different base spirit gives it something extra. MrBlack brings additional freshness, thanks to the cold brew, with espresso providing just enough bitterness, so it's not a sweet cocktail. But in its core, it's still a creamy delight that gets you ready for a long night. Thank you to the 80s, and thank you to Dick Bradsell. Now, let's elevate this cocktail with a new approach. Instead of espresso, we'll add the core ingredient in MrBlack: cold brew. Here's how I made mine. To start with the most important thing, the beans, I went to a local coffee roaster to get the best quality and to support somebody who I know is sourcing his coffee ethically and provides a top quality product in my town. If you can, try to do the same and pick a coffee you think will make the best espresso martini for you. I decided on Ethiopia Negusi Gemeda, a full-bodied specialty coffee with a chocolatey creamy mouthfeel, complemented by the pleasant sweet and acidic notes of currants and apricots. It smells floral and fruity. I'll make an immersion cold brew, leaving the coffee to brew in cold water in the fridge for 12 to 24 hours, depending on how strong you want your cold brew to be. We don't want our coffee to be weak, since it's replacing the espresso from the original cocktail, but it shouldn't be too strong either, since it will be the only dilution of our cocktail. So I'm mixing 100 grams of our specialty coffee with 800 grams of cold filtered water. I also added 3 grams of orange peels, which will add enough essential oils to add some sweet citrus notes, without acidity, pairing cold brew with other ingredients in our cocktail. If your coffee has citrus notes, you can skip this step. Stir well to mix, cover with the lid, and place it in the fridge. I left this to brew for 16 hours. After that, take a Chemex with the rinsed coffee filter and filter our homemade cold brew. Since no heat was added to the beans, there is less acidity and bitterness in the final coffee. As for the leftover ground coffee, there's plenty of ways you can reuse it. Here are a few ideas what used coffee grounds are good for. take a screenshot or just Google it. I'll use it for an interesting garnish to dip Amarena cherries. I took a couple of spoonfuls of our used coffee grounds and let it sun dry completely. This way I'm at least using this heat wave for something good, air drying, and I'm not using additional energy. One afternoon was enough, but just feel it and you'll know if it's dry enough and ready to be ground into an even finer powder with a mortar and pestle. To give it additional chocolate notes, add some cocoa powder to taste. That's not something you'll hear me say often. With that done, transfer it to a small bowl or plate for later. We have our cold brew. We have our leftover coffee for the garnish. Here's what else we'll use. MrBlack as before, but this time I'm using an aged rum. And for a different sweetness and more complexity, sweet vermouth. I'll again add saline solution. And like mentioned before, a cocktail cherry. And to make a nitro cocktail, we need a special siphon. This easy siphon takes nitrous charges instead of nitrous oxide or carbon dioxide charges for the regular cream vapor I used before. I'll leave a link for this in the description as well. Start adding the ingredients into the siphon. I made sure we don't overfill it. But of course, take advantage of the fact this can be pre-batched. So I'll start with 420 ml or 14 ounces of our cold brew for the strong coffee notes and dilution of the whole cocktail. Next, the base spirit, 210 ml or 7 ounces of Havana 7 years, or your other favorite aged rum. Follow that with 180 ml or 6 ounces of MrBlack, the coffee liqueur of choice for many of the world's best bars and restaurants. Next, slightly less of sweet vermouth, 135 ml or 4.5 ounces of Cochi di Torino. You'll be surprised how nicely this pairs with coffee. And lastly, saline solution, 16 drops. Saltiness will again enhance the bright cold brew coffee notes. This is a mix of salt and water in a 1:4 ratio. Mix the ingredients, then charge the siphon with 2 nitrous charges, shaking it well after adding each of the chargers. And for reference, Easy claims it's okay to charge this with 2 charges for a more intense flavor. This will also give our cocktail an incredibly creamy texture with a velvety foam crown and a visual effect you know from Guinness beer. But before we can see that, we need to properly chill the cocktail. So place the siphon in the fridge for at least 4 hours, or chill it quicker with an ice bath if you're in a hurry. This pre-batch cocktail should be good under pressure in the fridge for up to 7 days, but once it's chilled, go ahead and pour yourself a well-deserved cold brew Nitrotini. I'd usually tell you to pour this into a chilled glass, but to see the full cascading effect of our nitro cocktail, I left this Nicanora glass unchilled. For the garnish, I'll take an Amarena cherry and dip half of it into our reused coffee from the cold brew. The coffee cherry chocolate notes will tie it nicely with the fruitiness of rum and sweet vermouth. Once you stop admiring the cascading effect of our nitro cocktail, take it in with your other senses as well. Cheers! Strong coffee and a subtle floral aroma with orange essential oils and even cherry coming through. On the palate, MrBlack and our cold brew. Make sure you know this is a relative of the Espresso Martini, with rum and vermouth adding some funkiness. These flavors work together exceptionally well, and you'll be eyeing that siphon for a refill. But leave that for friends, and just go for dessert, a cherry on top of this coffee delight. If you'd like to try out these cocktails and create some of your own, you'll find MrBlack all over the US, UK, Australia, and 10 other countries. You'll find all the info on their website, where MrBlack even created a competition for the US and UK members of the Cocktail Time family. It will run for 2 weeks from today, and all you have to do is to sign up through the link in the description or the pinned comment, and you'll have a chance to win the ultimate coffee cocktail kit with a MrBlack gift card in a value of $100 or £75. Also a premium bar toolkit and even an espresso machine, so you'll be able to make espresso martinis to your heart's desire. Good luck with the competition, friends of cocktails. If you need more ideas for coffee cocktails, check out MrBlack's YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon with something new I'm working on. Cheers!